Hello and welcome to the Have You Seen podcast brought to you by Dave on Film. I'm Dave Woolin and today I'm going to be talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day, films featured in sports, and in a brand new feature, the box office top 10 in 10, where I'm going to be giving you a whistle-stop rundown of the UK box office top 10 in my 10-word reviews. Hello there. So how's everyone's week been? I hope this finds you well. Hope you've been watching loads of films in this past week. If you have, let me know. You can always email me or you can drop a message on the socials. Tell me what you've been watching. I like to know what everybody's been watching. I'm seeing loads of people online have been going and seeing the new Spider-Man film, which only came out yesterday, which is fantastic. The cinema was absolutely packed last night. I will get to that later on in the podcast. But this weekend, so last weekend, I was down in Coventry, between Coventry and Birmingham, at the Festival of Sport. So a friend of mine won some tickets, and we went down with a friend and her kids, and effectively it was just a massive festival in a field. Austin Healey and Will Greenwood, the rugby players, had set this up on the Packington estate down there, and it was a really good festival. There were loads of stuff to do. Kids could just run wild, testing out, doing sports that they'd never even dreamt of playing before. You know, there were some kids like doing medieval sword fighting. I don't even know if medieval sword fighting can be classed as a sport, but everybody were loving it. There were loads of stuff for adults to do as well. You could get involved in loads of sport. Now I'm not. I am not the fittest person. So I ran a little bit of an obstacle course and then had to sit down for 2 days. So I'm surprised I didn't do myself an injury in all fairness. But it was great. There were food vans, that's all I was bothered about. Alcohol, again, all I was bothered about. Celebs were there. There were loads of Olympians who were kind of leading all the sports. So you had a Paralympian champion who was doing the archery and teaching the kids how to shoot the arrows. There were famous footballers who were there. There were some Coventry City players. Now, I mean, I don't know any Coventry. I don't look that far down in football league. In all fairness, I shouldn't say that, should I? Because they're going to be playing Leeds next season. Might have just set myself up for a fall there. And then there was some others. So Suzanne Shaw was there. If you remember Suzanne Shaw from Hearsay, she's kind of into all her wellness things. So she was doing a lot of wellness sessions. And I got chatting to her as well because years and years ago she was in the Rocky Horror Picture Show on stage, and I had a really old photo. So I took another photo with her. So I've kind of got the like then and now picture of Suzanne Shaw, which was lovely. She was lovely. Yeah, and it was just nice. Everybody could chat to everybody. It was a really good atmosphere. On the Friday night, the Rick Parfitt Junior Band played, so we had a bit of a concert, and he played all the hits. It was basically a tribute show, playing loads of covers, and he also so Rick Parfitt Jr.'s dad was Rick Parfitt, who was in Status Quo, and it had been 10 years since he died, so there was a moment where he kind of did a little bit about his dad and then sung Rocking All Over the World, the famous Status Quo song, which was really good. There were a disco kind of thing on the Saturday night, and then we actually got to watch a film as well. So on Sunday night, I watched Wonka. Now, I've already seen it, but I saw it at the cinema ages ago, and I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed it again, watching it on a big screen, sat outside. It was lovely, with a beer in my hand, not a care in the world. So yeah, that was the Festival of Sport, and because I was down at the Festival of Sport, I put a couple of messages on my socials, just asking you what your favourite sports related movies are. So I'm going to go through some of them. Obviously, there's a lot of ones that there's a lot out there, so we're not covering every sport film that's ever been made. But I'll go through a few of them. So remember, you can find me on Facebook. So on Facebook, I'm on there as Dave on Film, and on Instagram, I'm on there as Dave on Film Reviews. So I'm just going to go through a few of the responses. So first of all, my mum put a message on there. So Sue Woolin, she said Field of Dreams, which were quite fitting actually, because I was sat in a field at a festival. So I expect at some point Austin Healey and Will Greenwood probably sat there and had that kind of "if you build it, they will come" mentality that is present in Field of Dreams. So if you've not seen Field of Dreams, it's about a guy who kind of owns a lot of land, cornfields, and he kind of gets this vision of, and this voice comes to him and basically tells him that to build a baseball field, a baseball pitch out in the cornfield. Um, so he sets about it, and the whole film is about him doing it, and nobody believing him and thinking that he's absolutely insane. And then with a really good payoff at the end. So it's all very baseball based. And then the ending is pretty phenomenal. And now in baseball, that film has inspired things so much that in baseball they actually have a Field of Dreams match every season now, where it's all cut into the cornfields and they play a proper game, and it is really good. So, and I've always known that this has been one of my mum's favourites. If you ever mention sport films around my mum, she comes back to Field of Dreams every time. So, yeah, it's a good one if you can get hold of it and get it watched. It's always popping up on TV. Kevin Costner, and there's a few other guys in there. There's a fair few people that you will know, and off the top of my head, I cannot remember all the people who were in it. There's a guy who played Mufasa, who did Mufasa's voice, James Earl Jones. He's in it. There's I can't remember. Do you know when everything just goes off the top of your head? So go see Field of Dreams. It is a really good film. So that's one recommendation. I enjoyed that one. Martin Short sent in a couple. He sent in the first one was There's Only One Jimmy Grimble. Now I think I saw this when it came out many years ago, and I'm pretty certain it's football related. I've not looked it up. I might need to go back and revisit that one. But if you remember There's Only One Jimmy Grimble, give us a comment. Let me know what you think. And that's the same with any of these. If you can think of sport films now that you really enjoyed, just drop a message. And the other one that Martin recommended was Chariots of Fire, which is an old film. You'll recognise the music from it. So Vangelis did the music, and it was a big film when it came out. It's all about the life of Roger Bannister, who was the first. I mean, spoilers. First person to run the sub 4 minute mile. And the film is all about kind of the training and everything, like running on the beaches and all that. There's some really good visuals, some really good music, and it's a really good story. So that's Chariots of Fire, suggested by Martin Short. And then we go on to Dan Griffin. He came up with Rocky IV. Now, I have to say that Rocky IV is one of my favourite films ever. So Dan says that he's a sucker for a boxing movie, and he feels like The Fighter goes somewhat under the radar nowadays, and I agree with that as well. I think The Fighter was a very good film. So that one's Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale, and Christian Bale's a bit of a fuck up, basically, and he's trying to coach. It's all doing coaching Mark Wahlberg into becoming a boxing champion. That is very good. The Fighter is, like you say, Dan. It's very much, it gets overlooked, and I think at the time there were a lot of hype about it. But it's not one that people naturally come back to now. Because when you think of boxing movies, people tend to go to Raging Bull. They'll go to the Rocky films. Million Dollar Baby, which I've still not watched. I will watch it at some point. I might even watch it for this. If somebody loves Million Dollar Baby and wants to write a proper review of it, send it in, and I'll watch Million Dollar Baby, and then we can kind of talk about it, and we can talk about that. That's not a bad one to do. I already kind of know the ending though, which I think is one of the reasons why I've not watched it. But yeah, Dan. So Dan says Rocky IV. Now, Rocky IV, I have loved since the first time I watched it. It is an absolute treat. It's more or less it's like an hour and a half music video for 80s power ballads. It is unbelievable. The film's not even really about the boxing, it's about the music. And so this is the famous one with Ivan Drago, and Apollo Creed gets killed by Ivan Drago, and it sets up Rocky versus Ivan. How can the American beat the Russian? It kind of came out when the tensions about Cold War were at a peak in America. So the film's pretty political, but it's also really good fun. And the training montage in Rocky Four is to this day one of my greatest moments in cinema. I absolutely love. There's like a two-part training montage. So there's one bit that goes to kind of just a bit of music, but then it kicks into a song called "Hearts on Fire" that is just incredible. And you've got Rocky training by picking up big rocks and lumping logs and picking people up on carts and all that in snow. When you've got Ivan Drago in kind of like a medical facility getting injections and punching high tech equipment, just kind of showing the difference between them. And it's like, can Rocky? I mean, yeah, of course he can. Can Rocky overcome the Russian at the end? Of course he can. It's Rocky Four, and it's all about the Cold War. So of course the Americans going to come out on top. So Rocky, if you've not seen Rocky Four, there's a lot of people don't want to watch the Rocky films, and I get it. I get it. It might not be your thing, and I have to say the first one. A lot of people love the first one. It's very slow. The second one's not great. For me, 3 picks it up, 4 takes it to a whole new level, and then 5 just nobody talks about 5. But I think Rocky Four is easily the best one. So yeah, that is a great shout, Dan. I was hoping somebody were going to. If somebody had not put Rocky Four, I were going to talk about it anyway because it's one of my favourite sporting films. Carl Powell brings up Escape to Victory, classic, absolute corker of a film. So it's a load of real life footballers who in this film are in a prisoner of war camp in World War Two. And Michael Caine is one of the prisoners, and he decides to organise a football match against the guards, but the idea is that they're going to try and plan an escape from prison whilst having the match, and it's all about that. It's the planning behind it, it's the training and kind of the things that they're up against, and then you get to the football match at the end, and the football match at the end is fantastic. You've like literally you've got Sylvester Stallone playing in goal first of all. Out of everybody, Sylvester Stallone's playing in goal, and he's brilliant. You've got Michael Caine, midfield general in that film. You've got uh, Bobby Moore, who was the England World Cup winning captain. He's in there. He's kind of got a good part. Pele's playing in the team. You've got Mike Summerby, John Walk, some old. I mean, if you don't know footballers, you're not going to know a lot of these names. Ozzy Ardiles, he's playing in the team, and I've actually got a framed shirt from the film. It's not from the film, but it's a replica of the one in the film that's signed by a lot of the cast. So I love Escape to Victory. I've always loved it. It's so cheesy. And he's got a fun little theme tune, a little theme bit of music in it that's almost like the Great Escape music, but it's not the Great Escape music, but it's very close. And if you've not seen Escape to Victory, it's pure cheese, but it's brilliant. And then you like proper rooting for them at the end, and obviously the football match is taking place. But are they going to escape? Are they going to get away? Who knows? Next up is Phil Nichols as very. He's always recommended this film to me. It's called Rush, and I remember he recommended it to me a lot when I used to work with him, and then I think he lent me it, and I loved it. I thought it was a really good film. So Rush is it's a biopic film, and it is. So it was back in 2013, and it was a Ron Howard film, and it stars Chris Hemsworth of all people. Good old Chris Hemsworth, yes, that Chris Hemsworth, and he plays James Hunt, who is a British F1 driver who races for McLaren, and Daniel Bruhl is in it, playing Niki Lauda, who's the Austrian F1 driver, who's like kind of the rivals, and it's just the story of their rivalry back in like the 70s and what happened between them, and it is really good. It's you don't have to be into F1 to enjoy it because it's not really about the racing as such. It's about kind of the rivalry and what went on, and it is a really phenomenal film. So that is well worth catching if you can get hold of that somewhere. Um, some other personal favourites of mine that weren't mentioned. When Saturday Comes is a football film set in Yorkshire. It's set in Sheffield mainly, starring Sean Bean. So a lot of people won't have seen this. So it's about Sean Bean. He's like a Saturday morning footballer. He gets drunk all the time. He's sleeping with women. He's got an abusive dad who's abusive to his mum. And his brother who's slightly handicapped, and it's kind of their life. It's quite gritty. It's very Yorkshire, very Sheffield. They go down the pits, and it's his dream to play for Sheffield United, and that's kind of where the film kind of goes. And he starts getting trials and messing them up by drinking, and yeah, it's a good fun film. It was a very very early Sean Bean film, and that's worth watching. Another one I've picked out is a film called 42, which I don't think a lot of people will have watched. So this is the Jackie Robinson story, and it stars Chadwick Boseman as Jackie Robinson, and it's the story of his life. So Jackie Robinson was the first black player to play Major League Baseball, and at the time in America, there was very much the Major League Baseball, which was your big thing. And then they had what they called the Negro Leagues, which is where all the black players played baseball. And it was very much at the time, it was very much, yes, they stuck to the Negro Leagues and nobody came into the Major League Baseball. And it's a story about how the Dodgers, who are now the Los Angeles Dodgers, but at the time were based in New York and they were called the Brooklyn Dodgers. It's about how the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers saw Jackie Robinson and gave him a shot and gave him a chance, and the kind of backlash that came from it at the time. So it was a time when there was very much, it was all about segregation, and a lot of people didn't like it. But the film kind of shows what he had to go through, the vitriol he had to face. Even whilst he's batting and getting verbal abuse from other coaches who were shouting horrible racist remarks. The one of the actors who is in it, I can't remember his name now. Alan Tudyk is in it, and he's nasty. He plays one of the rival coaches, and he's just a nasty piece of work. Harrison Ford's in it doing a weird accent, and he's the guy who brings Jackie through. That is the owner of the Dodgers, and that is a really good film. So it kind of covers a lot of things because it covers the race relations. It's got a lot of baseball in it, and it has got to say how much baseball is in the film. It's very believable, and it's done really well. And Chadwick Boseman is amazing. It's such a shame that he's no longer with us because he is a phenomenal actor and he really shines in 42. And on the similar vein, well, not a similar vein, but still sticking with baseball, another film I love is Moneyball. And it's just a quick chat about this one. Brad Pitt is in Moneyball, and it's another true story, and it's all about the Oakland Athletics, who back in the day didn't have as much money as some of the other bigger teams, but they kind of set a mission of, can we go out and win things just by using statistics and playing the statistics game? So they get a statistician in, played by Jonah Hill, and they start buying players that other teams won't buy because they might have anger issues, or they might have issues where they're not as consistent as some other players. But these guys have crunched the numbers and really dug into the stats and figured out that if you can get these guys together and playing well, they will win things. And it's a true story about what happened with the Oakland Athletics, and it's a really good story. It is absolutely, Brad Pitt's awesome in it. Everybody's really good in it, and that is well worth a watch. And sports aren't easy to do on the big screen or even the small screen, especially football. For me, football is one of the ones that, when it's translated onto the big screen, it can look so fake. And I think as a football fan, you see straight through it every time, because if there's ever any celebrating, it's like they always have to come away so that they're like celebrating on like a really small bit of grass, and it's clear that they're not doing it in front of a crowd. They've not really scored a goal, and it's quite hard to kind of force that kind of excitement that you would get in a real football scenario. So sport isn't easy to do on screen, but with 42 and Moneyball, the baseball is done really well, and there's not that much of the baseball in Moneyball because it's more about the backroom dealings. But yeah, so if you've got any other sports that you enjoy seeing on film, and there's a certain film that you really want to talk about and you want to give a shout out to, just drop a comment. So you can comment wherever you're listening to this podcast, comment on there because I'll see it, or you can email me on daveonfilmreviews@gmail.com, or go on my socials, and everything will be in the description of this episode, and just tell me what sport films you like, and we'll talk about a few more next week. So now a slightly new feature. It's kind of not new because I've done in every week that I'm doing this one. I've done a top 10 rundown of the UK box office top 10. But what I'm going to do is because I've reviewed most of the films in previous episodes, I'm going to just give a really quick rundown. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do every single film in a 10-word review. So I will, when it gets to each one, I'll give the title of the film. That's not included in the 10 words because when Minions and Monsters comes out, for example, spoiler, it's in the top 10. I'm not using 3 words on that. So I will say the title of the film and I'll give you the 10 words. Here we go. Let's see what I think. This is the UK box office top 10 in 10. Number 10. Supergirl. Ultimately forgettable, but not terrible. Momoa's hair is on point. Number 9. Disclosure Day. Spielberg does Aliens again in a slow starter with big payoff. Number 8. Evil Dead Burn. Better than Rise. Nasty gore fest with plenty to enjoy here. Number 7. Obsession. Best horror this year. Be careful what you wish for. Number 6. The Invite. Hilarious, awkward, and heartfelt. Very well performed stage play ultimately. Number 5. Jana Nayagan. Indian political thriller musical. Unfortunately, not seen this one yet. Number 4. Minions and Monsters. Cine-literate, funny, but probably the worst of the series yet. Number 3. Moana. The first Disney live-action remake that I actually loved. Number 2. Toy Story 5. Better than 4, but just stop with these now. Please. And number 1. The Odyssey. Epic story told brilliantly. Nolan absolutely nailed this for me. So there we have it. That's the UK box office top 10 in 10 rundown. Hope you enjoyed that. So if you've watched something recently, how about giving me a 10-word review? And I'll read some of them out next week. If you give me your 10-word review of a film you've watched, I'll read it out and we'll see how it goes. But now, it's time to talk about Spider-Man.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. You don't remember me, but we used to know each other. Something bad was going to happen, and the only way to stop it was to make everyone forget about me. Because I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Brand New Day. So it's been over a year now since we've had a Marvel film in the cinema, which is the longest stretch between any two of the MCU films that we've actually seen. It's the 38th. It's the 38th film in the entire universe, going all the way back to Iron Man in 2008. And now here we are with Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is the latest adventure of Peter Parker and his web-slinging superhero. We find Spidey, played by Tom Holland. He's in a bit of a dark place following what happened in No Way Home. So, in No Way Home, Spider-Man begged Doctor Strange to cast a spell that would make everybody forget that Peter Parker was a superhero to keep everybody safe from the multiverse. Basically, his aunt died and he wanted to protect everybody else. Now, if you're not keeping up with this, you've got 37 previous films to to go and watch. So why not go back and enjoy them? Pause this, watch the 37 films, come back and pick up where we are. But yeah, when he cast the spell, it meant that his girlfriend MJ, played by Zendaya, and his best friend Ned, Jacob Batalon, they no longer know who he is. So he's very lonely. And you kind of factor into this, obviously, that Aunt May died in the previous film. And Peter's kind of just plodding along now and he's throwing himself into the heroics and pining over the past. And he's watching videos that Ned and MJ are making online. And just, he knows he can't get back into their life. But then a whole new threat comes along and it raises its head. And there's like, so this entity appears, well, it doesn't even appear. It kind of starts possessing people's bodies, and this entity is trying to break into a new thing that we've not heard about before: the Department of Damage Control. So that it's kind of like a top secret government place that's kind of keeping a lot. But they explain it as damage control, so they get weapons that they've got from bad guys and use them for good. Effectively, that's what they say that they're doing. So this possession storyline is, so something is moving around between people and it can kind of jump from person to person. Spider-Man seems to be immune to it, and he doesn't really know why. And the leader of the Department of Damage Control, Bill Metzger, is called in the film, played by Trammell Tillman, and he says he needs Spider-Man's help to catch the person who's kind of doing everything behind this. As that's all going on, Peter's kind of struggling with his own body as well. He's kind of going through changes, and what's happening is the spider DNA from the original storyline is becoming more prominent in his body, and it's something he needs to kind of subdue because as he's becoming more spider-like and less human, it feels like it's a bad road he's going to go down, and he starts changing, and it's almost like he can't control it. So he builds an inhibitor so that he can kind of keep the spider DNA at bay and let his human side kind of come through. Naturally, everything kicks off. Everything goes wild. We get this new enemy surfacing. Old friends reappear. I won't say who. If you've seen the trailer, you'll know kind of some of them. And we get a real battle against enemies and emotions as the story unfolds. Now, it might sound like I'm being disconcertingly vague about this, and there's a reason for it, and it's because I want to keep everything completely spoiler-free for everybody who's listening. The film, I absolutely loved every minute of it, but I can't review it properly without spoiling. So I'm gonna try to not kind of touch on certain characters who might appear, new actors who've been brought in to play characters we may already know. That's all I'm gonna say. And so. The MCU has kind of ticked along nicely for quite a number of years now. So in the early stages, when you had Nick Fury building up the Avengers, everything were building up beautifully towards Infinity War and Endgame. So the whole Infinity Stone saga, everything was really exciting. And every time a film came out, everybody got excited about it, and it was really exciting. And then after Endgame, and then Spider-Man: Far From Home, that ended the third phase of Marvel, of the MCU, everything kind of went a little bit sour in my eyes. So you had things like Eternals, Thor: Love and Thunder, which I did not love at all. I know a lot of people do, but I think it was trying to be too funny and it missed the mark. The Marvels and even Guardians of the Galaxy 3 just felt like it had lost its way a little bit. But it still felt like it was building towards something new. And this was what's now been called as the multiverse saga. So we've had shows like WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and Loki, which have kept everything together to build up towards something. And the culmination of this phase was all going to be to do with Kang. And that was the character of Kang, who was played by Jonathan Majors. But Jonathan Majors got into a little bit of trouble and he got fired from the franchise, which really left Marvel in a bit of a sticky situation. And what they did was to kind of create this ending for this kind of era, they announced Doomsday. Now, then they announced Robert Downey Jr. were coming back to play Doomsday. And if you've seen this week, last week, the trailer came out for Doomsday, which is coming out in December. And watching that trailer, everything kind of made me feel about the MCU like I used to do. And things feel like they're coming back together. So obviously in Doomsday, we're seeing the trailer, we see X-Men, we see Fantastic Four, MCU characters that we already know, like Thor and Black Panther. And spoiler alert for the trailer here, Steve Rogers is in the trailer. Whether that's actually Steve Rogers or it's somebody pretending, I don't know. So where does Spider-Man now fit into this? So I'm not going to go into the whole Sony Marvel deal because it's pretty boring, so we don't need to go into that. But the fact that Spider-Man's in the MCU is fantastic, and I have to say that in amongst the duds of films since Endgame, the Spider-Man films have always been some of my favourites. I kind of love the wisecracking and the fun elements of his character. And in the previous film, because they were into the multiverse now, they could bring in the previous Spider-Men. So we had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield that had I was sat in the cinema when Andrew Garfield appeared on screen, and that had a cheer. But when Tobey Maguire walked on screen, the whole place erupted. It was unbelievable. So now, Brand New Day is kind of taking everything to a whole new level. This is Spider-Man, Sony, and Marvel at its best. Everything is big, bold. The action's fast-paced and it's fun, and there's a lot of heart in the film as well. So Tom Holland's Peter Parker's always been kind of like a friendly soul who's kind of needed help. And he's been guided by, in the past, Tony Stark, his aunt, Nick Fury. But now he's got to stand alone in the world, and the film feels very much like a coming-of-age story as well as a superhero film, where Peter's having to navigate his lost love with MJ, which is still very real to him, but not to her, because she doesn't remember him anymore. And he's trying to figure out how to deal with these changes in his body too, as well as dealing with all the new threats. It really is about a boy becoming a man and taking on everything that's involved in that. But it's this new threat that's in this film that makes everything interesting. And I really wish I could openly talk about it. I mean, I might be able to do like a spoiler episode at one point. But I can't at the moment. I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it's only been out a couple of days. But it really does make me excited for the future of the franchise all over again. And the power that this person has got alone is intriguing. And I just don't know where they're going to go next with it because there is so many avenues that can go down. And the fact that they can jump around between people as well is amazing. And it does make them one of Spider-Man's most interesting foes. Whether they're going to actually become an enemy of everybody is still to be seen. We'll certainly see what happens. And when it was revealed who this person was, I really had a bit of a, oh, wow moment. And I was shocked. And I was glad that I'd not read any spoilers before going in, which is why I'm not spoiling it for anybody now. But in the film, Tom Holland, he shines. He always shines as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And it's his charm that makes the character so likable. It really complements Zendaya's MJ as well. It's almost like you can see their real life relationship coming through. John Bernthal is in it as Frank Castle, the Punisher, and he's a lot of fun. And anytime he's on screen, there's a lot of laughs to be had. I felt coming out of this film like I did back in 2017 when I came out of Thor Ragnarok and other films around that time. It feels like there's an end goal now. So the end of this phase feels like it's within reach, and everything's moving towards it now at a really fast pace. And I just hope that they don't mess it all up. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to this so you don't miss an episode. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, or email me, or check out my blog at daveonfilm.co.uk. And it'll be interesting to see if anybody's got any thoughts on Spider-Man, anything else that's coming out, or you've watched recently. Even if you watch an old film, let me know, and we'll talk about it. I think I'm going to watch $1 Million Baby because I've been talking about it. So I'm going to watch it this week, and I'm probably going to report back on it next week. So if anybody has got any real big thoughts about $1 Million Baby, the boxing film with Clint Eastwood, let me know, and write me a review as soon as you can. If you can do it before Monday, that'd be good. Monday, Tuesday, and then I will read it out, and I will read out my thoughts, and we'll see kind of where we are with it. So I'll be back soon. Remember to keep your time circuits on and your flux capacitor fluxing.